There's a certain confidence in someone's voice when they say, "You'll miss me." It's not just a statement, it's a prediction. They're telling you they believe they've left a mark so deep that your world will feel smaller without them in it. Most people respond with emotion, either by denying it too hard or by admitting it too quickly. But in Dark Stoicism, you don't argue, you don't plead. You simply say, "We'll see," because those two words carry more weight than any emotional outburst ever could. They're not defensive, they're not angry, they're not desperate. They're calm, measured, and full of quiet confidence. They send one clear message: I don't measure my worth by your presence. In that moment, you're telling them you're not going to collapse in their absence. You're going to evaluate your life without them and decide for yourself what it means. And here's the twist. You already know the answer. You already know that by the time you've rebuilt, refocused, and risen above the pain, you won't just be okay. You'll be better than you were before they left. If you've ever had someone underestimate your strength or assume they'll live rent-free in your mind forever, this message is for you. Watch until the end to see exactly how "we'll see" becomes more than a comeback. It becomes a philosophy. And if these words already resonate, like this video, subscribe to the channel and comment below. We'll see. Now we shall begin. Number 1. The power of not arguing. When someone looks you in the eye and says, "You'll miss me," it's not just a sentence, it's a power play. It's designed to put you on the defensive before you even realize what's happening. It's an unspoken challenge. Prove me wrong. Show me I matter. Show me I'm right. Most people take the bait instantly. They launch into reassurances. "Of course I'll miss you." Or they try to deny it so hard it sounds like begging in disguise. "No, I won't. I'm better without you." Either way, the emotional reaction tells the other person exactly what they wanted to know, that they still have influence over you. But in Dark Stoicism, you see the trap for what it is. You know that words spoken in the heat of ego and pride aren't worth wrestling with, so you don't fight them in the moment. You don't rush to defend yourself. You don't gift them the satisfaction of watching your emotions spike. Instead, you take all the oxygen out of the fire with a calm, surgical response. "We'll see." Those two words hit different. They're not defensive. They're not aggressive. They're not needy. They're a declaration of neutrality. And neutrality is terrifying to someone who thrives on being the emotional center of your world. Because now the ball isn't in their court. It's not a guaranteed prophecy anymore. It's a test you will quietly decide the outcome of. It forces them to sit with the possibility that they were wrong about you, that maybe you won't miss them, that maybe you'll thrive without them. And that thought unsettles them more than anything you could say in anger. And here's the thing, the power of not arguing doesn't just protect your dignity, it plants a seed of doubt in their mind that will grow in your absence, watered by every unanswered question and every day you stay silent. Number 2. Indifference is a psychological mirror. Indifference is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. Most people confuse it with apathy, as if you've stopped caring about everything. But in Dark Stoicism, indifference is highly selective. It's not that nothing matters, it's that they no longer matter enough to influence you. When someone says, "You'll miss me," they're expecting some kind of emotional spark. They want a flicker of hurt in your eyes, a change in your tone, something they can hold on to as proof that they're still central in your world. They're looking for reassurance, even if it comes disguised as an argument. But when your reaction is calm, steady, and without emotional spikes, you hand them a reflection they weren't ready to see. That reflection says, "Your departure doesn't shake my foundation." It forces them to confront the possibility that they've overestimated their place in your life. Here's the subtle genius of indifference. It shifts the emotional burden back onto them. When you don't react, they have to fill in the blanks themselves. They have to guess whether you care. They have to wonder if you're hurting, if you're thriving, if you've already moved on. And the human mind, when left in uncertainty, often imagines outcomes far more intense than reality. Indifference isn't pretending not to care while secretly obsessing in private. That's just suppressed emotion. True indifference comes from detachment, from knowing your value remains the same whether they're in your life or not. And that kind of self-possession can't be faked. The result? They're left alone with their own reflection, seeing the cracks in their assumptions. And in that stillness, they begin to wonder, did I matter as much as I thought, or was I just passing through? That's the first spark of doubt, and doubt, when it grows, often turns into regret. Number 3, the "we'll see" mindset turns time into an ally. When someone says, "you'll miss me," they're expecting a reaction in real time. They're expecting you to prove them wrong immediately, to show them you're fine, to force your confidence into the spotlight, to try and win the moment. But the truth is, the moment doesn't matter. The long game does. That's where "we'll see" changes everything. Those two words are not a dismissal, they're a contract with yourself. A decision that you won't spend your energy on instant rebuttals or emotional performances. You'll let time carry the truth, because time never hides the real outcome. In the early days after they leave, their confidence is high. They believe their absence will leave you hollow, restless, and searching. And maybe, for a while, it does. But when you stop chasing the quick victory and instead pour that energy into rebuilding, something shifts. You're no longer trying to prove you won't miss them. You're living in a way that makes it impossible for you to. Time becomes your silent ally. It wears down their certainty the same way it strengthens yours. Every day you don't break the silence, every milestone you reach without their involvement, chips away at the prediction they once made so casually. And when enough time passes, you don't need to say, "I told you so." Your life will show it for you. And that proof will hit harder than any words you could have spoken in the moment. Number 4, control over reaction is control over outcome. The moment someone says, "you'll miss me," they're setting the stage for how the breakup or separation will play out. It's more than a statement. It's an attempt to frame the narrative before it's even begun. And if you react impulsively, you let them write the first chapter of that story for you. In Dark Stoicism, you understand that your initial reaction is the seed that determines how the rest of the situation will grow. If you respond with anger, you feed their ego. If you respond with desperation, you hand them power. If you respond with sadness, you confirm their prediction. But when you remain composed, when your voice is steady, your words are measured, and your energy is unshaken, you take control of the entire frame. You're no longer operating inside the story they were trying to create. You've rewritten the terms without needing to explain them. This is why emotional control is the foundation of Dark Stoicism, because your reaction doesn't just reveal your state of mind, it shapes theirs. If you don't show pain, they begin to question their impact. If you don't show need, they start to feel the absence of their own importance. And if you don't show urgency, they lose the timeline advantage they thought they had. Control over reaction is control over outcome because it keeps you in the driver's seat. You're no longer being pulled by their expectations. You're steering the situation toward your own advantage. You dictate the pace, the tone, and eventually the conclusion. And here's the thing. Once you understand this, you stop letting anyone's words pull you out of character. Because you know that every emotional outburst you avoid today becomes leverage you hold tomorrow. Number 5. Let distance reshape the story. When someone says, "You'll miss me," they're basing that statement on the version of you they know right now, the you they've seen day after day, the patterns they've grown familiar with, the emotional responses they've learned to expect. They're confident in their prediction because they believe they've mapped your behavior. But distance is the great disruptor. It changes the map. It creates a gap where their certainty begins to erode. When you step back, truly step back, you remove them from your daily reality. No calls, no texts, no subtle check-ins. The rhythm of connection you once shared is gone. And in that silence, the story in their head starts to shift. Here's why. People don't miss you as you are. They miss the role you played in their life. When that role suddenly disappears, they're forced to adjust to the emptiness it leaves behind. At first, they may brush it off, believing it's temporary. But the longer you stay away, the more the absence solidifies. It stops feeling like a pause and starts feeling like a permanent ending. And that's where regret quietly begins to creep in. Because as the distance grows, so does their uncertainty about what's really happening in your world. They can't track your moves. They can't measure your emotions. They can't confirm that you're still orbiting around them. Distance reshapes the story because it turns what they thought was predictable into a question mark. And in human psychology, an unanswered question is far more haunting than a clear answer, especially when they realize they may never get it. Number 6. Silence is the loudest response. Most people think silence is weakness, a lack of courage to speak up or defend yourself. But in Dark Stoicism, silence is deliberate. It's a conscious choice to let absence do what words can't. When someone says, "You'll miss me," they're expecting some kind of feedback loop. They want to see the impact of their words on you. They want confirmation that they still hold a position in your emotional world. Even a heated argument gives them something to hold on to, because it keeps the connection alive. Silence breaks that loop entirely. It doesn't give them an emotional foothold. It doesn't give them something to twist or use later. It leaves them with nothing but their own thoughts. And thoughts grow louder in a vacuum. Here's the psychological truth. The human mind hates uncertainty. When you say nothing, they start filling in the blanks themselves. They replay your last conversation. They analyze your facial expressions. They wonder if you're hurt, if you're angry, if you're already moving on. And because you've given them no data, their imagination often paints a picture that's far worse and far more powerful than reality. Silence is not passive, it's strategic. It tells them, "I don't owe you an explanation." It removes the stage they thought they were standing on. And when used correctly, it becomes louder than any declaration you could have made. Eventually, they'll realize the conversation they wanted to control is over, and you were the one who ended it without saying a single word. Number 7. Self-improvement becomes the unseen counterpunch. When someone tells you, "You'll miss me," they're assuming your life will shrink without them, that the space they once filled will remain empty. What they don't expect is that you'll take that space and fill it with something far greater. In Dark Stoicism, your absence from their life is not the focus. Their absence from yours becomes the opportunity. The hours you once spent texting them, calling them, or waiting for their attention become hours spent building yourself. Physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, you hit the gym not to show them what they lost, but to reclaim the discipline you may have let slide. You study, work, and create with a focus they've never seen from you before. You upgrade your wardrobe, your habits, your mindset, not for revenge, but for evolution. The beauty of this approach is that it's invisible to them at first. While they might expect you to stay in the same emotional and physical state they left you in, you're transforming quietly in the background, and transformation has a delayed effect. When they eventually see you again, the change hits them all at once. This is the unseen counterpunch. It's not an angry rebuttal or a public display meant to provoke jealousy. It's the quiet, relentless work of turning yourself into someone who would never trade the man you've become for the relationship you once had. By the time they realize what happened, it's too late, because you no longer need them to validate the progress you've made. The improvement wasn't for them, and that's exactly why it stings the most. Number 8. You train yourself not to look back. When someone says, "You'll miss me," they're planting a seed, an invitation for you to keep revisiting the past, to replay memories, to measure your present against what you once had. If you're not careful, that seed grows into a habit of looking over your shoulder, checking their social media, and wondering what could have been. Dark Stoicism rejects that completely. You train yourself to stop feeding the past, not because those memories don't exist, but because you refuse to live inside them. Every time you resist the urge to check on them, you strengthen your discipline. Every time you redirect your thoughts back to the present moment, you cut another thread connecting you to the person they used to be. Looking back keeps you in a loop. It keeps them alive in your mind long after they've left your reality. And as long as you're stuck in that loop, you can't fully step into the life you're building now. So you make it a practice, a daily discipline, to focus forward. You immerse yourself in your own growth, your own wins, your own new experiences. You replace the habit of thinking about them with the habit of thinking about what's next for you. Over time, this shift becomes second nature. You stop wondering where they are or what they're doing because it no longer matters. And here's the irony. The moment you stop looking back is often the exact moment they start looking toward you again. Only by then, you've trained yourself so well that their return is nothing more than a distant echo in a world you've already outgrown. Number 9. You let their words age poorly. When someone confidently says, "You'll miss me," they believe they're making a statement that will stand the test of time. They think it's a truth you'll be forced to admit months or even years from now. But the beauty of Dark Stoicism is that you don't try to disprove them immediately. You let time do it for you. You don't rush to prove them wrong with petty displays or forced smiles. You don't try to win in the short term. Instead, you live your life in a way that slowly, quietly, and inevitably makes their words less and less accurate with every passing day. At first, they may feel certain in their prediction. They may picture you struggling, missing them, second-guessing your decision to stay silent. But as time passes and your life expands without them, that confidence begins to erode. They hear about your growth through mutual friends. They see glimpses of your progress, even if you never flaunt it directly. And slowly, the seed they planted starts to rot. The most satisfying part? You never had to argue, explain, or even acknowledge their claim. You simply outlived it. Their once bold statement becomes outdated, a relic of a version of you that no longer exists. By the time they realize how far you've come, their words no longer carry weight. What was once meant to be a prophecy has become nothing more than a reminder of how wrong they were, and you didn't have to lift a finger to make it happen. Number 10, you decide if you miss them at all. When someone says, "You'll miss me," they're making an assumption that your feelings are fixed, that the value they once had in your life is permanent, and that you'll always see them the same way you do in this moment. But Dark Stoicism puts that decision entirely in your hands. Missing someone isn't automatic. It's a choice reinforced by where you focus your mind and your energy. If you keep replaying memories, if you keep romanticizing the good moments, if you keep looking for pieces of them in your daily life, yes, you'll miss them. But if you redirect that focus into the present, into building, into creating, into becoming, something remarkable happens. the emotional attachment fades, and with it, the idea that you must miss them. This is where the phrase, "we'll see," becomes more than just a response. It becomes a philosophy. You're saying, "I'll decide whether your absence is a loss or a gain." And every step forward you take without them shifts the scales further toward gain. By the time you've fully stepped into the man you're becoming, you might look back and realize that you don't miss them at all, not because they never mattered, but because the version of you that needed them no longer exists. The real power move is that missing them is no longer inevitable. It's a choice you chose not to make, and in that choice lies your freedom. When someone says, "You'll miss me," they're betting on your weakness. They're assuming your world will shrink without them, that your days will feel empty, that you'll keep replaying the moments you shared until nostalgia convinces you they were right. But Dark Stoicism flips that script completely. You don't argue. You don't rush to prove them wrong. You don't let their words dictate your timeline. Instead, you let time work in your favor. You remain composed in the moment. You step back without noise, and you rebuild in silence. You turn the energy they thought would break you into the fuel that makes you stronger. And every day you grow without them, their words lose their grip. Eventually, they'll remember what they said, and they'll compare it to the man you've become. They'll see someone who didn't collapse, didn't chase, didn't cling. They'll see someone who stood so firmly in his own value that missing them was never inevitable. It was a choice he chose not to make. That's the power of "we'll see." It's not a comeback for the moment. It's a declaration for your future. It's a reminder that you control the meaning of their absence, and that sometimes the most satisfying answer you can give is the one you never have to say out loud. If you're ready to live with that kind of power, to turn someone's doubt into your transformation, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. We'll see. Because when you live like this, you don't just survive their prediction, you make it irrelevant.